Hey, welcome back everyone. This is Uncle Frank, and I am not a financial advisor, nor is any of the content to be construed as financial advice. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. Hey, thanks everyone for tuning in. Please hit the like button and share this one for me. Okay, let's paint a picture together, shall we? You see that headline from Bloomberg? That's from this past Sunday. World's $100 trillion fiscal time bomb keeps ticking. IMF urges debt reduction as finance chiefs meet in Washington. They are flying in and meeting right now ahead of the IMF conference on Friday. Now let's add this to the equation. Now check this out from Tuesday afternoon. SEC Chair Gary Gensler has raised alarms about the $13 trillion sitting in offshore U.S. currency, saying it could destabilize the American financial system. During the Bloomberg Global Regulatory Forum, Gensler pointed out that much of this money held by foreign banks isn't insured. This puts the U.S. economy at risk if something goes wrong in the euro-dollar markets, which have been linked to previous economic disasters, including the 2008 financial crisis. Quote, there may be more work for those of us in the global regulatory community to ensure resiliency in the offshore euro-dollar markets, Gensler said. He also mentioned that these offshore funds have made the Fed Reserve step in as global savior more than once. During the 2008 crisis, the Fed pumped billions into foreign banks to stop the system from falling apart. In 2020, the Fed had to buy a ton of domestic corporate bonds to steady the global dollar bond market. The U.S. Central Bank's role as international lender of last resort isn't just an American issue. Global upheavals and crises are forcing the U.S. to bail out international banks and stabilize global markets. According to a report by the Atlanta Fed, the bank's 2020 buying spree was never about helping U.S. companies alone. It was about saving the global system. The risk here is that the U.S. dollar's dominance could hurt America itself when foreign financial systems start to crack. At the same forum, Gensler flagged the euro-dollar market as particularly dangerous. He explained that when foreign banks use U.S. dollars but don't fall under U.S. regulation, it leaves massive gaps that nobody is watching closely enough. Guys, at this Bloomberg Global Regulatory Forum, Gensler also warned about private credit. Beyond the offshore funds problem, Gensler also turned his attention to the growing private credit sector. He highlighted its potential risks, saying it has ballooned to $1.7 trillion. While private credit isn't new, its sheer size now poses a new risk if things go south. He said, quote, though private credit has existed in some form for years, given its size has increased significantly, how will it weather times of stress at today's or greater magnitude? So Goober had a lot to say at this forum, lots about 2008 and plenty of warnings for a guy that lets market corruption and hedge funds like Archegos run wild while he focuses solely on terrorizing crypto, specifically my coin, XRP. Now, what no one talks about on CNBC or Bloomberg or Fox Business or anywhere for that matter is the Fed Reserve is in no position to bail out anybody. This article from June points out the Fed itself has over $1 trillion in unrealized losses. Did it all just go away since then? I noticed Gensler didn't mention it because I haven't heard peep about this since I reported on it back when they disclosed it. The Fed's $1 trillion pile of paper losses are turning into actual losses with more in sight. On the flip side, a soft landing could justify the Fed Reserve's underwater balance sheet. Now, I know one way the Fed can get its money back. If the market crashes, treasuries could rally, and that would certainly help now, wouldn't it? Now let's keep painting the picture. Nobody would argue the indexes are having a good year. S&P 500 up 23.37%. NASDAQ up 25.78%. The Dow up 13.81%, but recently got over 43,000. From October 17th, the Dow advanced on Thursday to its fourth record close in the last 5 sessions, as stronger than expected monthly retail sales indicated a robust U.S. consumer, and Taiwan Semiconductor's upbeat forecast buoyed chipmaker stocks. Glad to hear it. So we can all agree indexes are up, elevated, near or in record territory, right? Now stay with me, guys. Do you know what they're planning to discuss at the upcoming IMF meeting that starts on Friday and goes over the weekend? U.S. and Chinese debt. We're also going to discuss unrealized losses held by U.S. banks that currently stand at levels 7 times higher than they were before the 2008 crisis. Let me put that in perspective for you. In 2008, we were looking at $100 billion in unrealized losses. As of the close of this third quarter, banks are posting $750 billion in unrealized losses. Another important note is there are currently 1,027 banks in the U.S. with assets exceeding $1 billion. Among them, 47 are reporting unrealized losses greater than 50% of their capital equity as of June 30th. So we're going to be talking about all that over this next weekend when the markets are closed. But also, the Biden administration's budget deficit just hit $1.833 trillion for fiscal 2024. That's an increase of 8% from the previous year. This is the third highest deficit in U.S. history, surpassed only by the COVID-19 years of 2020 and 21. The government's total receipts were $4.9 trillion, but it couldn't keep up with the $6.75 trillion in outlays. The national debt is now sitting at $35.7 trillion, up $2.3 trillion from fiscal 2023. The more debt the government racks up, the more interest it has to pay, and that interest is $1.16 trillion in 2024 alone, the first time interest expenses crossed the $1 trillion mark. Now, with everything we just discussed in mind, let's take a fresh look at the calendar, shall we? It's Tuesday, October 22nd, so the BRICS summit is already underway in Russia, while Russia is at war in Ukraine, right? Wednesday, 10 a.m., existing home sales. Thursday, October 24th, 8:30 a.m., initial jobless claims. Then at 9:45, we'll get flash U.S. services and manufacturing PMI. Then on Friday, 10 a.m., consumer sentiment. Now, also on Friday, the annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank Group meet for the entire weekend. Tuesday, October 29th, 10 a.m., October consumer confidence and job openings. On Wednesday, 8:15, ADP employment, 8:30, GDP. Now, October 31st and Friday, November 1st, is a 2-day atomic bomb window. All at 8:30 a.m. on Thursday, personal income and spending, initial jobless claims, and the Fed's favorite, the PCE index, and the entire data group. Then on Friday, November 1st, 8:30, U.S. employment report and unemployment rate. As of today, we are only 14 days to the nuttiest election in U.S. history, so buckle up, buttercups. If you think we're getting through these next 14 days without some volatility, you're crazy. All right, Uncle Frank, are you saying we could get a swan here? Well, of course we could. Now, I've already laid out that we're in far worse shape than we were in 2008. But what I want you to think about is this. Do you remember the damage just one hedge fund failing caused recently? Remember little Billy Wang's home office, Archegos, took down Credit Suisse, a 167-year-old Swiss banking giant? Now, guys, what if 700 hedge funds take the pipe? What do you think that's going to do? Hedge funds took a serious hit in 2008. Nearly 700 funds, 7% of the industry, shut down in the first 3 quarters of 2008, according to hedge fund research. Are you starting to see my concern here? So yesterday, Donald Trump visits McDonald's, right? But today, this comes up. McDonald's stock sinks as E. coli outbreak linked to Quarter Pounder. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported 49 E. coli cases across 10 states with 10 hospitalizations and 1 death. The death was reported in an older person in Colorado, and 1 child has been hospitalized with severe kidney complications, according to the CDC. Pennsylvania, where Trump staffed the fry station at a McDonald's in suburban Philadelphia, has not been affected so far, but public health officials are continuing their investigations, and the CDC warned that there could be cases that have not been identified. Yeah, this is all just one big coincidence, right? Just like when they attacked Hobby Lobby because they didn't want to pay for birth control or abortion-causing drugs, right? In my opinion, you've been warned, McDonald's. Now, you guys remember when short seller Andrew Leff finally got busted, right? Did you know they postponed that trial until September of 2025? So much for speedy justice. Well, here's an interesting twist on the case. Orion Choi, an associate of U.S. short seller Andrew Leff of Citron Research, agreed to pay $1.8 million to settle SEC charges relating to 2 of Citron's stock recommendations, according to court documents. The SEC accused Choi of negligently engaging in a scheme to defraud the readers of Citron Research in connection with 2 social media posts the company issued recommending readers buy stocks in 2 U.S.-listed companies. In December of 2020, Choi worked with Leff on the research and content for the recommendations, but did not conduct adequate research or due diligence, the SEC alleged. It further said that Choi quickly traded on price increases that followed the 2 tweets, but failed to disclose this trading in the tweets. Without admitting or denying the allegations, Choi agreed to pay $1.8 million in disgorgement of his profits, prejudgment interest, and fines to the SEC to settle the charges. You see, everything's fine now. The settlement is likely to be a blow to Andrew Leff, who is fighting SEC and Department of Justice charges filed in July, alleging he engaged in a scheme to defraud Citron Research followers by publishing false and misleading statements regarding his stock trading recommendations. Ripple's XRP drops as Chris Larson reveals $10 million donation to Harris campaign. Yeah, this made a ton of sense. At the time of this recording, I've got XRP at 0.5332, down 1.76% over the past 24 hours. Why support any Democrats like Gensler, who have all but destroyed XRP's potential for years and years and continues to do so with the recent appeal? Gensler worked on Hillary Clinton's failed campaign. She went to my high school, I hate to admit. Chris is from San Francisco, which should explain this level of stupidity. This was once the prettiest city in America, and now thanks to Dem rule under Pelosi, who Chris Larson gave $250,000, you can shoot up in front of the library, live in the train station, or take a shit in front of the 7-Eleven. There's trash everywhere you look, but at least these people got rid of plastic straws, right? Do you want to guess how much Chris Larson gave John Deaton, the attorney and big Ripple supporter running against Elizabeth Warren, a prominent critic of crypto? $7,000. So what kicked off the rally today in Archer Aviation? FAA set to finalize pilot training and certification rules for air taxis. The Federal Aviation Administration on Tuesday plans to unveil final comprehensive training and pilot certification rules for flying air taxis, addressing a key hurdle to the deployment of electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. The White House cleared the FAA's final rules on Friday that were proposed in June of 2023. FAA Administrator Mike Whitaker is expected to outline details on the final rule at a conference in Las Vegas on Tuesday. Low-altitude urban aircraft known as eVTOLs have drawn intense global interest, with numerous companies going public like Joby Aviation and Archer Aviation. Archer started the day with a drop to a low of $2.98 until the word got out. Then the stock rallied to close at $3.30, up 24 cents or 7.84%. Then ACHR added another 7 cents to finish the after-hours session at $3.37, tacking on another 2.12%. I told you shorts, pick an easier target because this ain't the one. And it looks like the financial press is jumping back on board. Flying air taxis are on the radar after the FAA finalizes key rules. And from Yahoo Finance, could buying Archer Aviation stock today set you up for life? This air taxi startup has the potential to be a future multi-bagger. Here's an image from the event that was responsible for today's little spike in Archer Aviation, and here's their post from LinkedIn. We appreciate the FAA's continued partnership and proactive approach to advancing the eVTOL industry with today's release of the final Powered Lift Special Federal Aviation Regulation. This comes ahead of schedule, incorporates key feedback from across the industry, and is yet another foundational element toward our goal of the U.S. leading the way in commercializing UAM. We'll continue to formulate our operational plans to align to this final rule. At the time of this recording, I've got max pain for Archer at 3 flat for the October 25th expiration, and I'm delighted to report that ACHR finally made it onto the Reddit sentiment and mention tracker, coming in at 32nd, with its mention change up 667% over the past 24 hours. All I have to say to that is wait until celebrities like Kim Kardashian start flying in these things around LA and taking selfies. Then we'll see where we appear on this list. A lot of you guys made fun of me in the chat for betting on Hycroft at 2:30 because of Adam Aaron. Well, I forgive you. I didn't bet on Hycroft. That was a bet on gold. This is your hourly chart on the screen. The white line highlights 2:30. The big white arrow points to today's action. 8 green 1-hour candles in a row. HYMC closed at 299, up 23 cents or 8.58%. After hours, it got as high as 3, but finished that session at 296, up 5 cents or another 1.72%. Now, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I will never tell you to buy, sell, or hold any securities or cryptocurrencies, but Uncle Frank is officially out. I'm going to close this episode with a public service announcement concerning Gary Gensler. Trump or Harris, it doesn't matter, Gary. You're all done. No more SEC chair. Not in the discussion for Treasury Secretary anymore. Let's hope that $10 million in XRP gifted to the Harris campaign sealed your fate. Hey, I want to thank you for watching, and please remember to hit the like button after this slide if you enjoyed the presentation. Subscribe to the channel and set the alert so you're notified when I have new information to share. See you at the bell.